this sort of resource out there to your advantage, and definitely pass it on to your significant others. There's a lot of great info. But with that said, I'll toss it over to Mrs. Thomas. Oh, I'm sorry. So Miss Mary Goldstrom's going to go first. So you saw her other half, lesser half. So Chief Goldstrom was here earlier this morning talking to us with General Craig. So Miss Mary will come up and kick this thing off the right way.
As Chris said, I'm Mary Goldstrom. I'm the Command Chief's wife. We'd like to welcome you to the best recruiting in all the services. We've been here for a year now, and we've really been enjoying getting to know all of y'all and get out there and meet with them. We just want you to know we're available to you. You work for us, we work for you. That's all I have right now. I'd like to introduce Miss Dinah Thomas, the beautiful wife of General Thomas, the commander. She's a joy to work with and a blessing to our recruiting family.
That's very kind, Mary. Thank you. So I'm a little scatterbrained this morning, so y'all just forgive me and be patient. I also forgot my note card, even though I really know what I'm supposed to say, but it feels like I did bring my blankie, you know. We are so grateful to be here today. We're very grateful to the schoolhouse for letting us be a part and hopefully giving you great resources and encouraging you. First of all, like Mary said, welcome to recruiting and congratulations. So I want a little bit of feel. Everybody knows where they're going? We know where we're going? No. We do not know where we're going. Okay, everybody knows where we're from. Everybody knows where we're from? Yes. Excellent. Anybody from the Dallas, Texas area? One. Excellent. Where are you from?
I'm from Dallas.
I'm from Dallas. Okay, just the Dallas area. Okay, I'm from Garland. I'm a Garland girl. Born, raised in, well, I was born in Galveston, but raised in Garland. Had no idea what I was getting into. I don't know about your spouses, but we're here 30 years later, 3 decades in, really 31, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But it has been the ride of a lifetime. We love airmen. We love the Air Force mission. We believe in it. We also love family. We love our family, and we believe in our family, and we believe in your family. And we absolutely want you to understand that from headquarters, senior leadership, it's very important to us that you continue to take care of your family. I mean, this first year is going to be a hard, intense year. But you're just going to have to be a little extra creative, and I'll talk about that in a couple minutes, to be double-hatted as you are experiencing your first year in recruiting, but still needing to take care of your own. And when I say family, I really don't just mean wife and children. I'm sure many of you have wives and children, but if you are single, you should still be, hopefully connected to your parents. You have a best friend. Everybody has some sort of impersonal network. If nothing, you have your Air Force family and that piece of personal network. So it's really, really important, and we want you to know that it's important to us as well. We live that out. So a couple of things just to let you know a little bit about us. My husband is Major General Ed Thomas. Again, we've been around 31 years. We'll be married 31 years in January. We have 4 really grown children. I'm not sure when that happened. Our baby is 19 years old and a sophomore in college. Our 3-year-olders, they're all involved in the DoD in some way, shape, or form. The OD&I, the Air Force, our daughter's married into an Army gentleman. We also are blessed with 4 beautiful grandchildren. And last year during the pandemic, 3 of our grandchildren, our 4th is due in January, but 3 of our grandchildren lived with us. And we all trekked across the country together, and it was like a move on steroids with the pandemic, and we became a young family overnight again. except for we discovered we are not young. It was exhausting. I'm sure he was the only 2-star on the base who had a baby sleeping in his closet because there was no room left in the inn. And it was great. But I say all that just to say, with COVID, you know, it's been challenging, and I feel like we, through that experience, have a lot of an extra heart for young families in COVID. I know it's been challenging, and we're all having to continue to be creative and innovative, not only for the mission, but also in our homes. So thank you for that. A couple things I want to show you this morning, and Sara Beth is going to talk about this at great lengths. This is a fantastic resource. Your spouses also have this. We've mailed them. We want them in their hands. Please double check. I think there's some that may still be on the way. This is a resource that was created several years ago, and it has been recently updated. Our Chief Goldstrom worked very hard with shirts and seasoned spouses to make sure we get as much information into your hands as possible, right? Because the more informed, the better resources we have, the better job that we can do. So please, 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 and if you're single and you think, oh, well, this is not my thing, that's not true. It's got good information all the way across the board, and you are going to be in with other recruiters. And unfortunately, although I think this is changing in our culture, this hasn't been very known about. And it's very sad to meet a recruiter spouse who's been in recruiting for 9 years and has never seen it. And then they see it and go, oh, this would have really been helpful. Yeah, so we don't want anybody out there recreating the wheel on their own. So please make sure, it should be a great question as you arrive to your bases. Yeah, I mean, not bases, sorry, mini GSU, but to your new unit, wherever you are, to ask whether it's the guy beside you or if you're at a headquarters, wherever you are, to be asking people, hey, have y'all seen the new recruiter's guide? That would be a blessing to me. Ask, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Because people need to see it. It's super helpful. It's also a living and breathing document. So if you think there's things in there that are missing or incorrect, please reach out to us. We want to update it every spring because we want the best information that we can have for everyone. So thank you for that. The second thing that I will say is one of the things that's really important, and I really want you to feel the freedom and to lead in this, is include your families. If your mom's in town and you're working a NASCAR race, you need to ask for another ticket. My mom's going to be here. Please include your families in recruiting. It's just healthy for everybody. It's just another way to invest in time. We ended up with a rule in our family that was made by the mama, because the mama gets to make all kinds of rules, and I definitely make them on the fly, in which our oldest, who is 27, she was in the 2nd grade, and she came down and said, Daddy wants me to go to Home Depot, but I really just want to read a book. I don't think I'm going to go. And I said, oh, actually, the rule in our family, like as of that moment is now the rule, right? Because mamas can do that. The rule in our family is, yes, Daddy, I would love to. No matter what Daddy asked, if he was going to Home Depot or running to the post office or whatever, the answer was, yes, Daddy, I would love to. Now, they very quickly discovered that Dad would at least get them a McDonald's hamburger. So there was always food involved if you went with Daddy. But we still have to be creative. Your time is limited. If you're going to Home Depot and you have children, you should have a child with you. And that is pretty much how we have rolled for, decades. So you have to be a little bit more creative, right? The other thing that I love, and this is just a personal thing we found, this is I call him Eddie, his name's Ed, but I call him Eddie. This is my Eddie notebook, and it was my mother's suggestion, and it was a game changer for me. I bought it at Ross. You can go to Walmart, but if you have a wife, she probably wants something a little pretty. $3.99 at Ross. It's not a big purchase. I write things down in this book because when he comes home at the end of the day and he says, like, hey, what can I help you with? What do you need? What's going on here? If it's not written down, I'm probably not going to remember. So we just have a communication system. Of course, you could do that in a million ways through your phones, but have a plan to communicate. A plan to communicate this next year will be a lifeline for your spouse. So that's super important. And then I'm trying to think, there was one more thing I was going to say, but it's escaping me, so we'll have to see if I come up with it along the way. Again, I'm going to pass on Sara Beth Staud to you. Chief Staud is at the headquarters. We are very grateful for them. They've been recruiting for 17 years. This is not her first rodeo, and we are so grateful for her. The last thing that I do want to share, and I've been thinking about this morning, as Americans, we have a really unique opportunity. I don't know that a lot of other countries, that their armed forces take care of families and spouses the way we do, which is all the more why I'm really heartfeltly want you to make sure that your spouse has the information that we are having today. I spent my evening on Tuesday night waiting for my friend Fatazana via technology, waiting with her. She was in London, for her husband to get to the checkpoint at the Kabul airport. And Afghanistan doesn't have a spouses network, let me tell you. I'm very grateful he's in Dubai safely and on his way to London. But we just need to be extra grateful, and this week has been very vivid to me, all the more how much we are blessed as spouses to have the freedom to connect and to take care of airmen and our families. Sara Beth.
I was going to tease Mrs. Thomas because she plagiarized a little bit from my stuff here, some of the stuff she talked about. But when she got teared up, I'm like, I can't tease her. But hi, I'm Sara Beth. Like Mrs. Thomas said, we've been in recruiting forever. So if I say, we usually have slides, we don't have them today, so I apologize for that. If I talk about slides, just ignore me. It's just part of my routine. But we're talking about what we call Air Force Recruiting Spouse 101. So do we have any spouses joining us on Zoom? How many do we have? Do we know?
I won't know until later on, but
okay.
I'm going to guess about 7.
Oh, okay. Well, hello. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. Those of you who do know where you're going, are any of you going to be in a GSU away from a base for sure? Or so many you just don't know yet? Okay. All right. Throughout this brief, we'll be referring to several pages in the Recruiting Family Spouses Guide. Hopefully your spouses have those at home and can look through that. There's a ton of good information in there. The things we're going to talk about are challenges for the recruiter and the family members, ways to overcome these challenges, the AFRS Spouses Guide, and the AFRS The Force Behind the Force Facebook group, as well as additional resources. So how many of you guys are married or have a serious relationship and kids? Or kids, I should say. Okay, all right. So it applies to a lot of you guys. And for those of you who doesn't apply to, just so you know, when my husband was sitting in your seat, he was not married either. And he had a serious girlfriend that turned into a spouse, so it was me. So anyway, so I mean, listen up, and not only that, you're going to be recruiting people who have spouses, and this can be valuable information for those people as well. So challenges for the recruiter and our family members. There's a great amount of time spent performing this job, which I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about. The first year is typically very challenging. My husband always describes it as treading water. Recruiting is demanding. It requires working weekends, after hours, special events. The dang phone rarely stops, and pretty soon, all of your bodies, your spouse's bodies, are going to set an internal alarm clock for Tuesday mornings. And anytime you hear that phone like beep or ding, your heart's just going to explode and you're going to wake up. Do you guys know what happens Tuesday mornings? It's ship day. That's the day you're just waiting to make sure your shippers clear the floor of BEPS. And it happens early, so you'll learn about that really quick. I tell folks to go ahead and start saving for a cruise, because there's a little tip that your government phone will not work in international waters. They can't get a hold of you. I need to take that advice. We still haven't done it, but yeah, that's what my goal is anyways. The lack of built-in support system commonly present on military installations in a GSU. Has anyone in here ever been part of a GSU? Yes, one? Okay. What did you do?
I was a safety forces member, but I was at a Belgian Air Force base.
Okay. All right. So we had some experience as a GSU before my husband became recruited too, because he was a medic and he worked at a MEPS. So that experience is helpful, but it's also a very new experience for a lot of people. And we know the saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone, and I feel that's so very true with living around a base. Bases have so many amenities that we're accustomed to, like the youth center, the CDC, commissary, the BX, it's not like Class 6, things that we use and we enjoy. We're not always going to have those, but I also, with that being said, I encourage you to check your surroundings. You may be surprised to find some amenities that do not belong where you are, but they are there. One time, we were stationed in 311. I was in Pittsburgh, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was lost. Just driving, trying to figure out where I was going, and just off the side of the interstate, not behind a gate, not on a base, there was a DECA commissary, a barbershop, a little military clothing store, and a Class 6. I was shocked, but it was really cool to have a commissary somewhere where I did not expect to have a commissary. My husband would always laugh at me, because when I'd go to the commissary, I'd be there for a little longer than I should be. He'd be like, Sarah, why have you been gone so long? I'm like, I was with my people. They were like 70 years old, but they're still my people. They understand it. So it just felt good being around military people, even though they were long retired. Check that, and then we were talking about Dallas earlier. There is a reserve naval base in Dallas, which was a huge surprise to me because it's landlocked, that has tons of amenities. It has a CBC, it has TLF, it has youth center, it has a lake with a recreation center, it has a lot of stuff. So, I mean, you may be surprised what could be around you. Ask your, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like when my dad had to go in for open heart surgery in Palo Alto VA hospital, right there, then there was a NASA facility with a TLF. We got to stay for like $30 a night and a commissary.
And you would have never
I didn't know.
Like, you don't know those things,
it was amazing.
Great to know. So thank
Absolutely.
you. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you. So check those things. Ask your flight mates, ask your flight chief, ask your key spouses. They will be able to give that kind of information to you. Hopefully they know. And if not, you find something, then make sure you share that information with the people that you're going to be around. One blessing COVID has brought us is agencies like the Military and Family Readiness Center have been forced to put their services online, which has worked out really well for our spouses. Our spouses are able to use their services virtually now. And your base, what your closest base should be able to help you get in touch with those services or use those services, but if not, here on Randolph, because our headquarters is here, they have agreed to allow all of our spouses throughout our entire command to use their services. So Randolph is always here to help with those kind of things. Financial hardships. We talked about this in the Spouses Guide on page 5 and 10. I feel financial hardships often go hand in hand with the last point, in that being away from a base can be a little difficult. There's not as many transient families, so it may be harder to find housing, again, lack of commissary, and lack of base pharmacy, things like that. As far as housing goes, reach out to the RIC that you're replacing. I've seen RICs literally just trade off houses. Like, okay, this is our rental, and this is when we're leaving. Okay, are you interested in renting it? Here's my landlord's name, and one moves out and the other moves in. Check out those kind of things and ask your flight chief, ask your fellow recruiters in your flight to point you in the right direction as far as where to look for affordable housing. And if you need to, talk to your first sergeant about options with the government leased housing program. Has anybody heard of that? Okay, government leased housing program. It is something that is not used as much as it should be used, but it is for areas where the rent is truly too high as far as rank and BAH goes, where you can't find anything that is comparable as far as the standards go. It's ran by the Army Corps Engineers. What they do is they go out and find 3 homes, and they talk to the landlords, and they say, hey, are you interested in being part of this program? If so, we're going to be the tenant, the Army Corps Engineers, and it would be just like living on base as far as your water bill would be and your rent and everything like that. Your BAH would go directly to the Army Corps Engineers, and they would pay the landlord. And what they do is they find 3 houses that are comparable to your BAH and your rank, and they let you tour them, and then you choose from those 3 houses. It's not always available. Your area truly has to be too expensive. It can't be that, oh, I don't want to live in a duplex kind of thing. It has to be, you truly can't find anything within the rent range of where you live in your BAH. But it's definitely worth looking into. I know when my husband was a recruiter, his flight chief used it. I know when he was a pro soup, we had a few recruiters use it in Charlotte. So take a look. Anybody going to Charlotte area? Toledo area? Nowhere? Okay. I know those 2 areas has been used before, though. All right. Also, we got to have a realistic expectations when it comes to our personal finances, including housing options. Miscommunication or lack of communication between the recruiter and the family. This is in their spouse's guide on page 4. I love all you airmen, soon to be Ricks, but once you get in your office, you're changing lives, learning your job, treading water. Historically, you're not very good at taking home information. And this is why I always encourage key spouses and leadership spouses to honestly try to go through you to get to spouses, but if they have to, go around you. But please, prove me wrong in this, share information with your spouses, your significant others. I use spouse a lot of times, but if you're engaged or you have a serious relationship, if that person's important to you, that person needs to be important to the Air Force. So know that they're included when I say that. Understanding TRICARE benefits and accessing care. I think all of us have a love-hate relationship with TRICARE, especially spouses. I know a lot of you guys, it's all you've known, so you're used to it. Have any of you guys ever heard of TRICARE Prime Remote or been on TRICARE Prime Remote? No? Okay, so if you end up being 50 miles or more from a military treatment facility, TRICARE Prime Remote is the option you're going to use. I'm sorry, I keep moving.
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you.
Keep muting it.
All right, thank you. So TRICARE Prime Remote basically acts just like your regular TRICARE acts. But you're going to have a civilian healthcare provider who is your primary care manager, and they will organize all your specialty care from there. It's actually, I like it better because you get more control of your primary care doctor and who you see, and they're a little more lenient and quicker to refer you out when you need referred out. I think I enjoy it a little more. TRICARE Select is also an option as long as you're okay with the deductible and co-insurance. A few other things I want to mention regarding healthcare is mental health counseling. As we said before, this job is really hard, and it's not just hard on the recruiter, it can be hard on the families as well. Military One Source has made it very easy for anybody military affiliated to receive counseling. It's confidential, it's not through the military, it's not in your health records. All you have to do is get on their website, you can call them or you can chat with them online, and they will find you a counselor. Use that option. I'm a super advocate of counseling. I think it's great. But if you need it, use it. If your kids need it, use it. Use it. Our kid had a really hard time with this last transition, and Military One Source was definitely there to help us, and I super appreciate it. Also, the MFLACs. You guys all know what MFLACs are, I'm assuming. Okay. Every branch has the MFLACs, and what is really great about that is even if you aren't near an Air Force base, if you are near a Marine base or an Army base or a Navy base, the MFLACs will drive up to 1 hour to meet you off base for sessions, which is nice. And again, not in your record, it's not military affiliated. They're a great resource. All right. Also, I want to mention the Barry Robertson Center. Has anyone heard of that? Okay, I just learned about this a few years ago. I'm kind of the person that I learn a lot through experiences, and unfortunately, when I could have used this information, I didn't know about it. So it's super close to my heart. I have a sweet friend whose son was going through a lot of trauma and abuse from biological dad. The Barry Robinson Center is a inpatient mental health facility for military affiliated kids. It is TRICARE approved and TRICARE paid for. Being a teenager is hard. Being a teenager now in a pandemic is hard. So, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of military kids that could use this. The great thing about it, again, being inpatient, is they actually have school there as well, so the military child does not fall behind on their studies. And they also have outpatient services for people that are near. It's in DC, but they take kids from all over that are military affiliated. You don't have to live in DC. It's a great resource if you ever have an office mate or just an airman from even your current job that you know is struggling with a teenager. Remember Barry Robinson Center and just throw it out there. It could be life-saving for somebody. Child care, educational services, and employment. This is in our spouses guide on page 10 through 13. This is a hot button topic all the time throughout the Air Force, but even more so for our GSU families. Has anyone here heard of Child Care Aware? Okay, but this actually can be used near a base too, so this is relevant even if you don't stay in recruiting. Child Care Aware is a program that is designed to help offset the cost of child care off base. For example, like in New England and a lot in the northern states, child care can be very expensive. It is a monthly grant that helps lower the cost to get it closer to CDC prices. Not exactly, but as much, they do what they can. It's based on how much child care is in your area. We had a recruiter in Pittsburgh use it, and they helped $250 a month with his daycare. So Child Care Aware, this is in the spouses guide, is definitely worth looking into. All right. The YMCA offers membership and 16 hours of free respite care every month if you're 50 miles or more away from a base and have a YMCA near you. It's a great resource for your spouse's medical appointments. I even say use that 16 hours to go on a day date with your spouse. Take the kids, drop them off at the YMCA, and go on a day date. That's one beautiful thing about recruiting is that you are in charge of your schedule, and as long as you're getting your job done, your boss isn't going to care if you pencil off 2 hours to go have a day date with your spouse or a lunch date or something like that. So again, YMCA respite care program, 16 hours of daycare, which is awesome. Educational services, tutor.com, we've used that for our kid before. The Military Interstate Compact Act. I'm guessing a lot of you haven't heard of that, but have a lot of you heard about the military school liaison officers that you have on base? Okay, well, every state by federal law is required to also have a state employee who does the same thing. So whether there's a base in the state or not, the state has an employee who is in charge of being a military child school liaison. There, again, another instance where I learned through experience, unfortunately. We had a recruiter who was in a very low populated area, not military base. They were living in a hotel where they were trying to find a home. They go to register their children at the school, and the school tells them that they have to register their children as homeless because they don't have an address. And then on top of that, they told the parents that they have to take social services classes to learn how to pull themselves out of homelessness. So you can imagine like how emotional that was for that family, just how awful it gives me chills thinking about it now. That's illegal, can't do that. And this state military school liaison, they're the person you call, and when they got that phone call, they were fired up. They got that fixed really quick. So there are people to help when you're not around the base. There's resources, people like that, which is awesome. My CAA, a lot of you probably know about that, $4,000 towards pursuing licenses, certs, or associate's degree for spouses, higher education, spouse employment, the military and family readiness career zone. This is all talked about in our spouses guide. Spouse empowerment zones, where a lot of national employers have committed to hiring our military spouses, and a lot of these jobs are virtual jobs that can move with you, which is awesome. LinkedIn premiums free for our spouses. One of my favorite is the newer spouses license reimbursement program, where they pay up to $1,000 when you PCS from one state to another to get to change your licenses. The biggest question I get about that is how you get the reimbursement, and that voucher is processed with the same people who process your PCS vouchers. If you ever have questions about that, each of our groups do have finance people, and they'll always be able to help you with that stuff too. Also, spouses, remember, if you're looking for a job, to check for government jobs. Just because you're not near a base, it does not mean that there's no government jobs. You got a lot of federal buildings all over the place. I've seen spouses be admins for the flight their spouse worked in. I've seen spouses work at the squadron headquarters in recruiting. So check, there's definitely job opportunities out there. More ways to overcome challenges. Find ways to assist your recruiter. Recruiting can be a family affair, like Mrs. Thomas talked about, and we have leadership who wants you to make it a family affair. I've got to see some awesome things as a spouse. I mean, Air Force sponsors some really cool things. Like, I mean, I'm not a NASCAR person, but I got to go to a NASCAR race, and that was pretty cool. You know, I've never seen any of that stuff up close. It was pretty neat to see. Got to walk through the driver's lot, and the one driver that came out to talk to us was actually a driver, ended up winning that race. That was kind of cool. Snowcross, a pretty cool thing to watch. Monster trucks, what kids don't love monster trucks? If you have kiddos, those are the kind of things you can take them to. And like Mrs. Thomas said, like if you need another ticket, ask your flight chief to call, make a phone call to your squadron. I have to think of where we're at as far as we go, but a squadron training shop, and it's pretty easy for them to get extra tickets. The people in the training shop typically have a very good working relationship with the organizers of the events, and they can pretty easily get tickets for the most part. When it comes like to NFL games and stuff like that, that's a little more difficult. But I mean, concerts, I'm trying to think. We went to a concert at Heinz Field. A country singer. I don't like country, but it was fun. I mean, they actually provided tickets for our entire squadron and their families, which was really cool. Some of the things spouses can do to help. There is a huge section of this on our AFRS Facebook page. If you just search for it, it will come up. Some of the things our spouses have done to help the recruiters is truly mind-boggling. I helped my husband stuff envelopes, and I thought that was a big deal. But we have spouses who, we have one spouse, I wish you could see it on the slideshow. She has magnets made with her spouse's business card, and they're all over the back of her car, so people can just take a magnet if they're interested in talking to the Air Force recruiter. It's pretty amazing. All right, plug into your community as soon as much as reasonably possible. I know you spouses know about this stuff, the social groups, faith-based groups, education, employment resources, childcare, fitness centers, running groups. Also, I feel like if you're in a GSU spouses, a lot of times our identity becomes so entwined with our Air Force members. When you are away from a base, one blessing is this really gives you the opportunity to remind yourself of who you are and remember what's important to you, and kind of figure out who you are again, which I think is a cool opportunity. Take advantage of that. Find consistent ways to communicate with your recruiter, the flight, and the squadron. The best way to do this is going to be your squadron Facebook pages. Almost every squadron has a Facebook page. If you join our AFRS Facebook page, we can help direct you to those pages. Mrs. Thomas, she talked about her notebook. This is the stuff she stole from me, but it's okay. But be proactive rather than reactive. Gather info and keep info. When you talk to someone at TRICARE, write names down. Childcare, educational services, employment. It can be overwhelming at times, and if you're organized, it makes it all that much easier. Same kind of thing with recruiting. If you're organized, it makes it all that much easier. All right. Air Force Recruiting Family Spouses Guide. What is in the guide? A lot of what we talked about. Information on the recruiter's mission and recruiting terms. Breakdown of squadron leadership and roles. Our leadership organization is a little different because we do have the pro suit. And acronyms, recruiting acronyms. Spouses, get on that and learn the acronyms and freak your spouse out when they get home. Know the lingo a little bit. Websites, resources as it relates to employment, healthcare, fitness, and childcare, finances, education, housing, and more. The guide can be found on Ricky, which is something all the recruiters have access to. Us spouses don't have it, but they have it. It's also on our command-wide Facebook page and mailed directly to our spouses, which is awesome. Air Force, a Force Behind the Force Facebook group and additional resources is used to connect spouses and recruiting family members via social media. We have resources listed under the files. We have an AFRS Key Spouse roster that we're working on. It's a work in progress. Behind the Badge magazine and more. We have Squadron Key Spouses on there and AFRS Spouses in general. The goal for that page is just to be a centralized location for you to come and ask questions and get information. It's a forum to share things about annuals, which I'm sure you spouses don't know much about, but it's starting to be annual season, and that's the one time a year that our squadrons, or twice a year, our squadrons are actually all together, and there's a formal banquet involved, and spouses are invited to that. Recruiters, please share that information with your spouses. I have met recruiters before that in 4 years never told their spouse they could come to this, and you better believe I told them. So don't make me do that, okay? We have a ton of information on our AFRS Facebook page. So on behalf of all AFRS spouses, we welcome you and your families to our family. The job is hard, but how we respond to this challenge is 100% up to each and every one of us. When you graduate and put on that recruiter badge, you're given the power to change the lives of every single career field in the Air Force. There's no one else that can say that. It is an awesome responsibility. Please allow your families to be a part of that awesome responsibility with you. You all have been at Lackland because that's where your schoolhouse is, but you all know it says Gateway to the Air Force out there. My husband and I have talked about this a long time ago. We truly believe that the real gateway to the Air Force is sitting in every recruiting office across America. You guys are going to be the real gateway to the Air Force, and thank you for that. Thank you for your time. If your spouses ever have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on the Facebook page, Sara Beth and admin, or anyone on there will be willing to help. But thank you.